Good morning, friends, and welcome back to Looking at Stamps. This is episode 75, and today we are going to continue looking at stamp placement, and we're going to look at a variety of new stamps today as well. I showed this to you yesterday as an example. This was the postcard that I sent to myself showing you cancellations and postmarks and just the general rules that I found in sending out postcards and correspondence. Now, this is a postcard that I'm sending out to my sister-in-law. It's her birthday next week, and I just so happen to have this postcard from Paper Sisters in Germany, and I knew that I had a happy birthday stamp, but the surprise was they have printed in this far top right corner the message "Happy Birthday to You," and I thought that it was a shame to cover that up. So I placed the stamp just a little off-centered from that top right corner, which is what is suggested by the USPS in terms of stamp placement. Now, because I've done that, it would be best if I get this hand canceled so that there isn't any delay in sending this out. Now, the reason why we place a stamp up here in the top right corner is because back in the day when all postage was hand canceled, the dominant hand was the right hand, and so it was just much easier for everyone just to continue stamping in the right top hand corner. So you can put alternate placement of your postage, but by not putting it in the top right hand corner, it means that it may not be automated in the sorting. Maybe have to be hand canceled if you don't do it yourself, and it may take extra couple of days for your mail to be delivered. So just keep that in mind if you want to do something creative with your stamp placement. Another thing that I wanted to share with you was this is another postcard that I'm sending out for post crossing. This person is a fan of Duke Ellington and piano playing, so I thought that I would send out this particular postcard. Now, for me, it is aesthetically pleasing to have all the stamps of the same orientation. It just looks better to me on the postcard. Now, we can't always do that. I get that, and I have a lot more resources than normal people do in terms of stamp choices. So sometimes there are different oriented stamps, I should say, that you need to place on a postcard. And this is how I do it. I take the larger of the two stamps and put it in the far right hand corner, and then I center the odd shaped stamp or the different shaped stamp on that particular stamp. So you can see this is actually centered on this stamp here. Normally, if it weren't for illustrative purposes, I would have used this stamp because it's almost identical in size to the Duke Ellington stamp, but it would still need to have been centered, but it would have only been about 1/8 of an inch off center. But I used this particular stamp because it had the blues in it and for illustrative purposes. There's an interesting story about this particular stamp. This stamp was issued in the 1980s and to commemorate Duke Ellington, one of the most prolific composers in the jazz or any idiom, and that he has a composition called the 22-cent stomp. And that's why they chose the 22-cent denomination for that particular stamp. So that's different orientations. And now we're going to talk about stamp clusters, in that if you have a variety of stamps, either for space purposes or for because that's all the stamps that you have and you need to put them together and they don't quite fit all the way across, what I do is I cluster them so that a single cancellation will cover all the stamps together. And so it saves you time at the post office and keeps you in the good graces of your favorite postal employee should you ask him or her to hand cancel some of your postcards or your postage. This is a person that likes bridges, so I'm sending out this particular postcard with New York stamps and bridges on them. And as you can see here, what I do is I take the two similarly oriented stamps and place those together, and then I center the odd oriented stamp either to the side or below it so that a single cancellation mark can cover all three stamps. So that is stamps. These are the two stamps that are vertically oriented and one that is horizontally oriented. The same can be done for two stamps that are horizontally oriented, I should say, and then the odd stamp that is centered on these two, and so that a single cancellation will cover all three stamps. Now, the reason why I do this is for the sake of expediency. I will spend no more than 1 hour per day addressing and making postcards, doing post-crossing or postcarding to my friends. And then I will spend no more than 15 minutes per card. So having all these rules and the design ideas in place makes it more efficient for me to choose stamps to send on my postcards. And I will always use expediency over perfection. So the idea is that most of all these stamps are loose stamps. I keep these in accordion folders so I can find them easily. They are all sorted by denomination. So if I can find a color palette that matches or a theme that matches, I will go for expediency rather than perfection. Now when I'm sending postcards to my friends, I will spend a little bit more time and go for perfection rather than expediency, and so that I will go through all my stamp files to look for what I think is the perfect card and stamp combination for my friends. And so this is a post-crossing card that I'm sending out. This person likes buildings, and so this is the Freedom Tower. If you don't know the history of the Freedom Tower, that is to replace the World Trade Center. And this is the stamp that was dedicated to the first responders to the 9/11 catastrophe. This is John F. Kennedy stamp and the Medal of Honor stamp here. And that's all the time we have for today. I hope you've enjoyed this session on stamp placement and new stamps. Have a great day. Have a wonderful weekend. And I'll see you next week, maybe, because next week is my birthday and I might take the week off, with the exception of showing you the new dinosaur stamp that's coming out next Thursday. But you'll have to wait till Monday to see if I keep my promise or not. So until then, or I should say, until next time, bye-bye.